Okay, is it going to work this time?
All right, we're on. We're live. This is Stacy Carlin. I do the podcast Taking Care of Number Fucking One, and I have a special guest with me tonight. His name is Craig, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Hi, Stacy. Thanks for having me. My name is Craig Ignatowicz. Craig is fine. Most people can't pronounce the last name anyway. I've been doing my little podcast for a little over a year now. It's called At Home with Craig. Pretty much anywhere on social media that you find that name, except for like two places, it's me. Someone stole my email address. They got it before I could. And someone grabbed Instagram before I could. So I'm like, oh, crap. So I got to add the one to it. So it's either At Home with Craig or At Home with Craig 1.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about your background maybe and how you got to be this major podcaster guy that everybody likes to listen to.
Major podcaster guy. Well, many moons ago, I did a podcast with my friend Wendy Sullivan. We used to have a podcast called Brass Balls Radio.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very political. It was right before that guy got elected, and we were trying to do everything we could to make sure he didn't get elected, but here we are.
Mm-hmm.
So we would do a weekly podcast, and we would go through things like the Daily Guardian or some British rag or something like that, off the wall articles, and she'd take a couple, I'd take a couple, and we take turns talking about them. And most of them were pretty funny articles that we would talk about, and then we would expand on that. But it was great. I did it for about a year, and then I had some changes in my life where I didn't want to keep going in that direction. So I'm glad that I left when I did. It worked out really well for her. She met a good friend after that, took my spot. So, overall, I'm happy that I left.
Yeah, I mean, things worked out for the best, it sounds like, for everyone, And then now you have how many on the books here? You're ahead
18.
of me there. 18.
18 as of last week, right? This will be 19.
Okay, and yours basically is just whatever is going on, or
Pretty much whatever's on my mind. I try to avoid political stuff because I don't want to be just another political, oh God, here's another political podcast, right? Where everybody has opinions about Sleepy Joe or about Orange Man bad or whatever. And then I won't say that I never talk about political stuff, because I do. It's part of life. You can't get away from it.
It's a matter
unless
of
you live on unless you live on a mountaintop somewhere, you can't get away from it. But it's more of a faith-based, Christian-based podcast where I talk about my walk with God, my relationship with him, where I've been, where I'm going, what he's brought me through.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about addictions I've had. I talk about jobs I've had. I talk about a little bit of everything. They're usually like 15 to 30 minutes long, depending on how long I can stand to hear my own voice for. It's like, all right, that's enough. All right, I'm gonna end it here.
Oh, but I've enjoyed it. I mean, when I've listened to it, it's like you're so down to earth. Like I've told you this in the past,
right?
And that's what I think a lot of people kind of, are leaning towards, somebody that's just real straight up and just kind of tells them how it is,
Right. Yeah, no BS here. No, sometimes I don't have a filter. Sometimes I do, but
right.
I'm never going to lie to you. I'm never going to BS you, like me or don't. Warts and all, like I always say, like me, warts and all. This is me. This is how I am. I'm not going to change.
No.
Each individual listener. People always say, know your audience and know your niche and know all these things. I'm like, I don't have that.
Mm-mm.
I don't fit into a category, because when you go to a pod site like Anchor or Spotify or whatever, and they ask you like what genre, and you got to tick the boxes for what you do. I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
I'm educational. I'm faith-based. Arts and crafts. I'm whatever I feel like talking about that week. And I'm also one of these people that doesn't have, I don't write notes down. I don't, I know people, I can't do a podcast. You can't do a podcast unless you have a script. Why?
Yeah.
That's not real. That's polished and professional. That's fine. If that's the kind of thing you want to do, great. I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But for people like you and I, that doesn't always work. It's like, oh, I want to talk about this. And this just hit my head now that I want to talk about that.
No, and I get that because when I'm doing mine, even I just kind of sit down and I feel the mood and I know the topic I want to talk about and I talk from the heart, you know?
Right.
And that's what I think makes you so sincere about everything you say. And people are drawn to that because a lot of people out there aren't that way and they need to be able to relate to somebody that, can say it's this way and that way. And
Right.
it just makes them feel better because they may be in the same situation.
Exactly. Yeah. They can, I've listened to yours. I'm like, oh, I've been through that. So she knows where I'm coming from. It's not just throwing words at a person.
Right.
I've written down show notes where I started with, okay, I'm going to talk about this. I'll talk about this for 10 minutes. I'll talk about this for 7.5 minutes. Usually about halfway through, I'm like, you know what? This isn't working because
Mhm.
I want to talk more. As I'm talking, like something else will occur to me and something else will, like, let's talk about this now. Or let's switch gears and we'll go way out in left field somewhere. And they're like, how the hell did I get here? I don't know where we went, but we went somewhere. This is not where it started at the beginning of this. I thought it was going to be about alcoholism, and you ended up talking about something entirely different.
Mhm. But
My
that's
Navy
okay.
stories tend to go that way, where I'll start talking about once upon a time while I was in the Navy, this happened, and like a whole bunch of other things will come into play.
Right, but that could be how things played out in your life. So it just kind of brings
Absolutely.
you through that whole pattern,
Right.
and that's
Absolutely.
okay. All right. And then, we do go back a ways. We were high school
Old.
friends, so no one knows this.
85 feels like a lifetime ago. It really does. It's
Bite
it's
your
not
tongue.
it's not as long as it's not as long as it feels sometimes, but
Uh-huh.
I think back and like, wow, I left high school before the 90s hit, which is a weird kind of thing for me because you see these kids like, oh, I was born in 86. I'm like, shut up.
Uh-huh.
Where were you at? Well, I was graduating high school. Where were you at? Oh, you were in diapers. Okay, great. That's awesome. I don't feel old at all now.
No, not at all. It's a mindset.
Right. Someone said something about they were talking about 30 years ago and they were thinking it was like 1980 something. It was really like 1992. It's hard to think in
Right.
terms of 30 years ago was the 90s,
Right.
not like when we were youngins.
Right. So figure 30 years from now, you're going to be on the glider sitting next to me in the nursing home.
Right.
You think?
Absolutely.
And we won't even know who we are, but we'll be talking up a storm.
People from Jersey are good at that. We can talk about anything to anybody. We don't
Yeah,
care.
we can. Yeah, we can. And I think we've talked in the past too about like high school people and the way people are. I mean, the people were the way they were then, but then here we are as adults, and you still find that personality type in a lot of
Right.
people. Still,
Yes.
you think they grow up, but some people just don't, you
Some
know?
of them, some have mellowed out. Some are exactly the same way they were in
Yeah.
85. And I don't understand that because you weren't, I don't like judging people. I will say judgy things, but I don't like saying this person is this way or that way.
No.
You can usually see it for yourself. It'll come out. Eventually it's going to come out that this is how they are.
Right.
I remain friends with very few because we clicked in high school and we still click now. There's a few that we lost touch somewhere along the way, people I was friends with. I'm like, oh, I wonder what happened to this person, that person. I'll see them on Facebook, but there's
Yeah.
really nothing there anymore.
Yeah.
You
There's
always talk
nothing to
about
relate to,
we'll
right?
be friends forever. It's like, well, that doesn't last because usually like the first summer or two, because everybody goes off to college in different places. You went off to college. I joined the Navy in 86. I did
Mhm.
that for 6 years. So anybody I was really friends with or close with, that was all pretty much gone.
And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Of course, of course. No, but I totally get that. And we've, had conversations about even people back in school, how, some could be so catty and others just were good-hearted. And I know you hung out with a certain group of people versus others too.
Right. I think like attracts like, and I was kind of a geeky, nerdy kid. I was into comic books and I read a lot. I think I spent most of my high school years reading. I didn't do track. I didn't do any of those sort of things. I did stage crew, which was really cool, doing lighting and sound for plays and for whatever events they had in the summer. They would rent out the auditorium to like the dance schools around us. And they would pay us like, hey, do you want to make some money? And they'd pay us like $20 for a day, which in 85 that was great money. $20,
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
I'll do it for $20, so you got to hang out with your friends and get paid for it. And it was
Mhm.
really cool.
That's neat. And you didn't tell me you made that money. We could have walked over at
Right.
Study Hall and went to like Rita's and got an Italian ice or
Right.
something.
Went for a Coke and a slice or something, right?
Oh, that's funny. So, and you've been doing your podcast for how long now?
The first one was about 10 years ago. And then I took a long break because I didn't feel like I wanted to do it anymore. And then about a year ago, podcasting was starting to take off again. I'm like, I know how to do that.
Mhm.
And I listened to a few. I'm like, these are horrible. Why do you have a microphone? You shouldn't have a microphone, And a few of my friends did them and they were good. So I thought, why not? I got the snowball and I got a decent, I used to have a tower computer and it worked really well.
Yeah.
And I just did my thing. I had a separate webcam
Mhm.
and I just started up again. It was like, okay, I'm starting over. So I'm not a newbie.
Mhm.
I do know what I'm doing. Then I had to learn about, because when I did it before, we had a producer that
Uh-huh.
would handle we'd record it through Skype.
Mhm.
It wasn't video. It was all audio.
Mhm.
So I don't think we even thought about doing video back then. It was kind of around, but podcasts when they first started out were just that. It was someone talking into a microphone, not everybody seems to be pushing for video now, which I don't understand because you're not really podcasting anymore. You're doing like video production or something. But I had to learn how to upload my own files. I had to learn how to do audio editing, and I don't do a lot of it because my hearing is not that great. So
Mhm.
you may hear something I don't, I may hear something you don't. So I just send it through. There's an online application I use. I upload it to that. It cleans it up, however, it does it automatically. I download it to my computer and I upload it to Anchor, and Anchor sends it everywhere. I'm on hosting sites that I've never heard of, like Pocket Cast and Stitcher and all these other ones. I'm like, I don't know where that is. I'll go and I'll check out a new hosting site. I'm like, oh, I'm already here. I didn't know I was here. I didn't do this.
Surprise.
Right. Oh, look, here I am.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm pretty much everywhere now. I'm getting into the YouTube stuff so I can reach more people.
That's good.
I do a lot of stuff on a blockchain called Hive. So I do my podcast, I upload it, and then people can vote on it, and I earn a little bit of crypto for doing that. So it's cool. It's a little bit of work to get going, but I'm never going to get rich from it because I don't have the numbers like other people do. But I enjoy it. I don't get it, like the people that I've seen. Well, the Facebook groups, I belong to, the podcasting groups, and the new people coming in like, I want to start a podcast. How do I monetize it? What do you mean? You don't even have an idea yet. You don't have any
I
equipment.
know.
You
I know.
don't have a name. You don't have artwork. You don't have anything. And you're already talking about how am I getting 100,000 downloads and make money from it? You're not.
But
Not
see, they're the ones that their heart's not into it, Craig.
no. It's all, and someone on some website somewhere said you can make money from podcasts, and they went ooh, and that was as far as they ever delved into it to look into it.
Mhm.
They just said I can make, like people say you can make money with blogging. Yeah, you can. Not right away. It's not going to be like $100 a day or anything.
No.
Not in the beginning. Not unless you have affiliate links and advertisers and sponsors. And if I get a sponsor, great. But I'm not going out and looking for one because my podcasts are spotty. You and I once talked about consistency, and it's maybe not showing up every day, but it's being the same quality
Mhm.
or something all the time. You should always be the same quality because you listen to my podcast and you'll hear me at the beginning of every one saying, I know. I missed my date. I said I'd be back in a week, and here it is 6 weeks later. I think once I went like 13 weeks or something between because life happened like it does. And
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I'm still here, still alive, still kicking.
But that's what I get. You get a chuckle out of me because I listen to it and it actually makes me laugh because you're just kind of like, hey, this is what it is. And it's great.
I'm not
I
gonna lie
love
about it. I'm not gonna say like alien abduction or anything. It's just
it.
sometimes I don't feel like it. Sometimes stuff happens and I don't want to record. And there's been a lot of weeks where I'm like, oh God, I got to do this again.
Mhm.
And I have no idea what to talk about.
Right.
Or if you look at my desk, there's like scraps of envelopes and post-it notes that talk about this and talk about that. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what is it? I can't read my own writing. I don't know what this says, but
That's great.
we'll figure something else out. So I try. I always aim for once a week, but you know, doesn't always happen.
That's okay. That's all right. I mean, that's called life happens, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely right.
It's okay. But well, you had told me you used to, when you were young, do a lot of like stitching or sewing. I want to hear all about that again. I was just so impressed with that. I mean, like you're my God. I think that's so tedious.
Yeah, I always get that reaction from like when I, because I used to go to quilt stores and craft stores, and I'd be looking at the fabric, and I'd be looking at the quilting stuff. And some of the older women were like, "You know how to do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've made quilts. I've made dolls, and I will show you. This one is the first one that I ever made. I figured out how
Okay.
to sew it. I got a book from the library. I checked out the book from the library 6 times
Mhm.
before I finally said, "Okay, I'm going to do it." Because I bought the fabric, I had the book. I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it." And finally, I just did. I'm like, "Oh my God, I love this. This is great."
Yeah.
Not to say that I'm all, manly and stuff, but
Well, you know what? You're
I
getting in touch
enjoy
with your
it.
feminine side, and I respect that. It's not like you're ashamed to do it. And
Right now, it's
hey,
fun to do.
whatever makes you happy, it's relaxing probably for you.
It is. If you enjoy doing it, why not? I also do needle felting, which is fun. It's you use these special barbed thin little needles, and you take raw wool and you stab
Oh,
it and stab it and stab it and turn it into different shapes.
oh wow.
I love doing that because I get to stab stuff and that I don't get in trouble. Urgh.
That
Right, exactly. It's a very good stress reliever. Even if you never make anything worthwhile, it's just it's fun to stab something
that's
thousands of
great.
times.
I like it.
Yeah, but my mother did a lot of crafting growing up. Do you remember the Christmas kits that you used to be able to get when we were kids? It was like a kit for like Christmas decorations where they'd send you all the stuff and you had to assemble it yourself. My
And
mother had my mother had ones that they were clear plastic tubes and they would have like styrofoam in the bottom to look like snow, and you'd stick like a
yes.
tree in there or a deer in there. Yeah, my mother did those.
Oh,
So she did that. She sewed.
wow.
Yeah, she would go to, I don't remember what the name of the store was. It was Peace Goods or something in Ford's by the A&P. There used to be a
Mhm.
fabric store there. And she would go and take classes at night and she'd come home and she'd figure it out. And she
Wow.
basically taught herself how to sew. So she went from making clothes to quilting and dolls and other things. And yeah, she's really good at it. So
That's neat.
I think there's probably some kind of genetic component to it because there are people that can sew and there are people that can't.
Right.
And even though you try to teach them, like they're never going to get how to do it. It's not that it's difficult or it's insurmountable.
Mhm.
You really have to want to do it because it's not quilting does not come easily when they talk about piecing. They talk about all these angles you have to cut and sew this together and all these other things. And people are just like, there's too many parts.
Yep, that happened to me because I have
That's
a
too many steps.
yeah, I got a swing outside. I got like from the Home Depot and the
Mhm.
cushions on it after it being out there for a few years. I told my cousin who always sews and does quilting and stuff, she's
Right.
so good at it. She said, "Oh, make another one." And I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
And I thought
Oh,
about
okay.
it.
Right. Like it's easy. Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
It seemed how hard can it be to cut a rectangle, you know?
Right.
But
Exactly.
as I thought about it, I'm like, I think I'll see if they have any like on sale. I
Right.
don't want to do that.
We'll throw a slip cover with it. It'll
Yeah,
be
there you
fine.
go.
Yeah, I haven't done zippers yet, but zippers are one of those that zippers are intimidating until you do it a few times. It's not going to be like you pick up scissors and needle and thread and you're ready to go.
Right.
It takes a lot to get there. That's why there's hundreds and hundreds of books and magazines and videos. If you want to learn how to do it, check out YouTube because YouTube will somebody before you has gone and done it. So,
Yeah.
but I enjoy it. I've got all kinds of cool fabrics and everything. I don't know if you can see those. It's Halloween stuff
Okay, that's neat.
that Walmart or somebody had on sale. So why not? Why not? I'll pick that up. I don't know when I'm going to use it, but I belong to a group on Facebook that people give away their stuff they don't want anymore. So I picked up like 3 bags of fabric and I went out this morning and I picked up a good sized container of fabric squares and scraps to make quilts with.
Hey, why not?
So I will go through it and take what I want and I will pass on the rest to someone else. I have too much stuff.
That's okay. It keeps you active. It keeps you peaceful and it puts your mind in a different place, you know? Me, that
Right,
would just drive me totally bizarre. I couldn't, it would just put me over the edge.
right, absolutely.
That's why you're doing it and I'm not.
Right. That's why you're doing the cool podcast and I'm doing the other stuff. So,
No, and that's the other thing I want to talk about. We got to get back to your podcast. So let's
okay.
talk about some topics or, maybe titles to some of yours. So this way, when people watch this, maybe something will kind of catch their ear and they'll be like, let me check that one out.
All right. Hold on
Do
a
you have any
second.
favorites or, yeah.
There's been a few where I was like, after the end, like, that was really funny. I really liked that. I really liked that one. One that I did was in tribute to the lady I did the podcast with. She went through some health stuff. So I did one for her, asking people for like prayers and things.
That's nice.
I try to be witty with my titles, like Preach It or Hop on the Bandwagon or Life is Quirky, or one I stole from an episode of Doctor Who. It was called Turn Left kind of thing. So one I did like What's Going On With Me, stuff like that.
Yeah.
The one I did about my time on the submarine, I called that one Subculture. I thought that was kind of witty.
That's neat.
Yeah, I'm always trying to come up with like witty titles and catchphrases, and because that's how my mind works. Some people are boring, like, okay, today we're going to talk about this. I'm like, okay, that sounds really stuffy.
Yeah, it's real
and
flat.
really uptight. And I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not going to listen to that. But mine, when people are like, what does that mean? What is subculture? Thinking it's probably like some underground thing. And they're like, this is not what I was expecting at all.
That's what's good about yours. It's like, it's almost like you're curious to see what's going to come out of his mouth today.
Right. What is he gonna come up with? Well, it's funny. I tease a friend of mine. I say, I know that you don't know what I'm going to say next. Sometimes I don't know what I'm going to say next. It's just, and there it is. I'm like, oh, well, all right. That's where my brain went. Awesome.
Well,
I wasn't expecting that. So,
that's
I usually don't mean any offense. Sometimes I do. But
Mhm.
we're from Jersey. Hey, what are you talking about here?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about, but do they know what you're talking about?
Are you talking to me over here?
Yeah, right. You
Yeah, I
talking
need
to
a
me?
coffee and I need a quarter for the parkway and
Mhm.
down the shore.
Yeah, that used to be fun going down the shore, huh?
I don't even know what it's like anymore. I haven't been to Seaside since well before the fire.
I
How long
want,
ago was that? That was several years ago.
yeah, yeah. They had ATM machines on the boardwalk. Did you see that?
Uh-uh.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
And then
fun.
that's when the storm came after that. I was there before, and then they were talking about how ATM machines were in the ocean. I was like, oh my God.
I saw pictures of the Jetstar, whatever it was, where there's no pier around it. The
Mm,
boardwalk was gone, and you just see the structure of the roller coaster above the ocean. That was kind of
uh-huh.
weird. So, yeah,
That
but
is,
that whole the seaside park, and all those buildings are all like built on one another, and all the basements are connected.
yeah.
So the fire started in one and just spread through a
Man,
whole row of buildings, like, and there wasn't anything they could do about it.
that's,
So I understand that they rebuilt it. Well, even Point Pleasant is weird now, because I think Jenkinson's owns pretty much all of it, don't they?
I don't know. Like I said,
All the rides and the aquarium and the bar, and
probably.
Jenkins owns a lot,
That
because that
place
whole
was
land,
rocking too when we used to go.
yeah, Point Pleasant and Seaside were the places. Asbury Park never really had a lot of rides.
Yeah,
They had the fun house with the Ferris wheel and I think a merry-go-round, and that was pretty much it.
it was dead there.
Yeah,
There's nothing
Asbury Park was
left.
never like a family, this is where you want. I went because it was cool to walk to the convention center, but
Yeah.
that was about it. They had the convention center and Howard Johnson's. Those are the two things I remember from Asbury
Get
Park.
something to eat, and then you go home.
Yeah, that's where all the people went when they closed down the mental hospitals. They all ended up in Asbury Park. So
All right.
no one went to the boardwalk for a long time because you never knew what you're going to run into.
It's funny.
It's crazy to think about. Here we don't have boardwalks. There's one pier here, the Santa Monica Pier, which is cool. You'll see it if you watch any TV shows about Southern California, like Two and a Half Men or
Mhm.
NCIS Los Angeles, and some other ones. I'll always show the Ferris wheel. Yeah, that's Santa Monica Pier. That's the
That's
Pacific
neat.
Wheel. It's a really cool place to go because you can stand where like Hollywood actors have been.
Wow.
I went for Veterans Day. And then a few weeks later, I saw the same spot on TV. So I'm like, oh my God, I was standing right there. He stood here and I was right here. Oh my God, we're in the same place.
That'd be funny if we see you in a film and you're in the background, like, hey.
Right. That would be cool. It's funny because they'll film things here and it's like, or they'll film things like cop shows and like, oh, we're in New York. I'm like, no, you're not. That's LA. I know it's LA because I drove down that street. So I know exactly where you are.
Mhm.
See, that gets back to the BS stuff. Don't do that because we know better.
Yeah.
So tell me about your podcast because I don't know if my listeners are familiar with what you do.
Okay, well, it is about people that are trying to recover from narcissistic abuse, whether it's
Mhm.
women or men.
Right. And there's a stigma that men aren't supposed to suffer. So just
Right.
forget that.
And I always have to
Men-
correct myself too, because I kind of always say she because of me,
Right,
myself
exactly.
having that situation.
Right.
But then I always catch myself and I'll say, and then I always throw you guys into the mix. I never forget.
Right.
But
I found out recently, and it shouldn't be a surprise, but I found out there are shelters for abused men. I didn't know that was a thing because no
no.
one ever talks about it. Yeah, men don't talk about that. We just suffer in silence, right?
Aw, and needlepoint.
Right, right.
No,
I
but
think it's really cool that that's what you do. I think that's something that people need, whether they know it or not.
yeah, and even if it's not, a narcissist, it's just a relationship that just didn't go well or just was
Right.
real toxic.
Right,
At
exactly.
least you get something positive out of it. And then, if you're like in this situation, there's always hope. You may feel like you don't know if you could do this and get out of it, but you can.
Absolutely.
Everybody could do it, but it's just a matter of taking the initiative and, having a little confidence. And that podcast actually, I try to lean toward different topics where somebody may say, oh, that's happened to me, or yeah, oh God, that's going on with me right now. And then maybe
Right.
it'll click something in their head like, wow, I didn't realize this is what I'm in the middle of right now.
Right. Yeah.
Might save
I
them
belong
the
to,
trouble.
I'm sorry, I belong to a couple of Facebook groups like that about narcissism and surviving it and whatever. And I didn't know that that was a thing until a few years ago. I knew, I guess I knew the word, but I
Right.
didn't know anybody that was like that, or I didn't know the signs to look for. And once I knew the signs, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is what I've been through. So yeah, it helps. And
Yeah.
I will see people, mostly women, sadly, stuck in these situations where they don't want to leave because they have all their stuff and they can't take their stuff. And I'm like, it's just stuff.
Right.
You maybe photographs are sentimental. Maybe there's a favorite outfit of clothing you have, but everything else,
Mm,
eventually you can replace it. Maybe you can replace it with better stuff.
yeah.
You know, I left a lot of stuff. I mailed some stuff before I moved, but I left so much behind because I'm just like, you know what? In the end, I don't need it, and I don't need to spend $200 shipping it somewhere or
No.
moving it somewhere.
Yeah. No, I get it. And then I had stuff, whether it was from, things that went on together as a couple at the time, or I thought it was a good time.
Right.
When you think about it, it's like, so I thought I was enjoying it, but of course it wasn't real. So
Right.
what's the point
Exactly.
of keeping these things? They're really not good memories because they weren't real. They didn't mean
Exactly.
anything. So a lot of things I had, I just tossed because it actually brought bad memories, the most recent memories. And the person I thought I loved didn't even exist.
Right. It's all what you want. It's like not a caricature, but it's like it's something that you create in your mind. Like, okay,
Mhm.
this is what I see in them, so this is what they are. And you never look at, there could be a whole bunch of stuff over here that you never pay attention to or you choose to ignore. I see people do that too. Well, that bothers me, but I'll ignore it.
Right.
And eventually that stuff adds up and you can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah. And they're always very negative, or they walk around like they're Eeyore, with that cloud hovering over them, like they're having a bad day.
Right. I think my favorite thing, and I say that sarcastically, is how they apologize for stuff. I'm sorry that you feel that way.
Oh, yeah.
What does that mean? How am I
Because they
supposed to
say
feel?
apologize. It's
Right?
not, I could never get an apology out of them.
Right. You treated me like dirt and now you want to be my friend? Like, no, I'm going to need a minute
Yeah.
to forget all the things that you just said and did
Mhm.
I can't just switch back and forth like, okay, we're okay, now we're not, now we're okay again. I'm like, yeah, no, doesn't work.
No, it's like
And
a roller
a lot of
coaster.
them will never understand that you can't just switch back and forth like that because it
Mhm.
doesn't happen.
And
It
that's
doesn't.
why people are exhausted, I think, a lot after. It sucks the life out of you because
Oh, it
it's
does.
an emotional roller coaster.
I am probably, with a few exceptions of things that I won't go into, I am probably 1,000% better since I did what I did. I'm
Good.
happy. And people that I haven't talked to in forever said, you seem happier, or
Mhm.
you seem healthier, or you seem like you have a glow to you now. Whereas before, I look at pictures from a year ago and I'm like, I'm not the same person.
Good.
I'm really not. And I've only been out of my situation for about 6 months now. And it's like night and day. I'm sleeping, I'm eating, I'm enjoying things. I
Mhm.
have interests again.
Yeah.
Whereas before I would stare at the computer all day, or I'd
Mhm.
be on Facebook or playing a game, and that would be my life. Okay, this is what I'm going to do now.
Right. Or you're there trying to cater to make that person happy because they're never happy. And you're like trying to figure out what to do all the time.
Right.
And you're
It's
not
like,
even focusing on yourself.
right, you walk around on eggshells, or you wake up in the morning and say, "Oh God, what's going to happen today?"
Mhm.
Kind of thing. How are they going to be? Are they going to be okay? Are they going to wake up mad? It's something I didn't do. They're just
Right.
mad in general, and
Yeah.
I'm the closest person to take it out on, and they'll never understand. Oh, I shouldn't say never, but most likely they'll never understand what it is that they're doing or how they're doing it.
Yeah, no, you're right. They probably don't. And I think they, feel bad for themselves and they lack self-esteem. So they feel by putting others down, that's how they boost themselves up. And then they play the
Standing
head
taller by
game.
standing on someone else.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The
I'm
silent treatment and all that good stuff.
oh, silent treatment's awesome, isn't it? It's like, okay,
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
I don't know what I did, but all right.
Yeah,
And then there are days you're like, would you shut up now? It's
I
like,
know.
think
One
about it.
time,
Come on.
hey, one time, I'm not getting into
Right.
specific.
No specifics, right?
But one time I tried to do something really nice because I knew they were working hard.
Right.
So I tried to take a household job and have someone else do it. So when they came home, it would be done. Now they knew I was going to do this. And for whatever reason, I couldn't surprise them. I had to kind of like run it by them. Don't ask me why. So long story short, they come home. I'm waiting for this. Thank you.
Right.
And they were very upset that it wasn't done the way they would have done it.
Yeah.
Although it would have eventually goes back to what was, let's put it that
Right.
way. So long
Right.
story short, I left, dinner was on the table for them and I just kind of let it go. Guess who got the silent treatment the next day?
Right. Because you were wrong. How dare you? Yeah, I went through quite a bit of things like that. Yeah. It sucks and it's unfortunate. And like I was trying to be nice to you.
Mhm.
I'm doing all these things for you, not expecting anything in return.
Yeah, because you care for the person.
Right. Oh, something else that used to make me nuts is the church we went to, they would have like a breakfast thing for the Bible study.
Mhm.
And sometimes I would make the food and people would thank them and they would take the credit. I'm like, really? You didn't make it.
Oh,
I got up early. I got up an hour early to make cinnamon rolls or whatever it was. I did this, I made this breakfast for these people and you're going to take the credit for it. How hard is it to say I didn't do it? They did, kind
yeah.
of thing. And
Especially if you're significant, like if it's your husband that did it, I'd be so proud. It's like, yeah, my husband made it.
right. Exactly.
That's your partner. You want to put them up and make them feel good, and you would hope they would reciprocate. Not that you're looking for something in return, but of course.
Yeah. It's things like that that drive me nuts. So I'm
Yeah.
very glad that you have the podcast that you do. And I hope that you help people. And that's the goal of mine. I hope that someone listening will get something from it, whether it's a big thing or a small thing. But if it makes some kind of positive impact on their life, then that's great. Or it sounds odd, but if it's something that angers them, it means, at least it means to me that they're thinking about things differently now.
Right.
So they're not stuck in their bubble. I like to go around bursting bubbles, saying, I know you think this, but it's really this. Or
Mhm.
sometimes it's really this, and this is how things are. So if you're angry, that means you're paying attention and you care and you're thinking about stuff. And will it change them? I don't know. I hope so. That's
Yeah.
my prayer is, let me help before I'm done. Let me help somebody with this.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's just me having a good time talking to myself for a half hour.
Yeah,
If you
but
get stuff out of it, great.
you know what's really good about yours, and I'm just going to say this, and I'm not saying it because I'm your friend or anything. I'm just, you
Right.
know me, I'm straight up.
I'll take it.
I love that when you listen to yours, say I went in listening to it and I've got 100 things on my mind from my day. And I just
Right.
want to listen to yours just to kind of like get away from it all. It's almost like you make it a relaxing time. And I may not have anything that I can relate to what you're talking about at the time,
Right.
but it's still enjoyable to listen to. Does that make sense
Thank
to
you. I
you?
appreciate that.
That's
Yeah.
what I
So
like about yours. No matter what one you do, I feel like somebody could just sit back and just start off laughing when you say, "Hey, I haven't been here in a while," and just kind of chill. And you're just a good
right.
person, and you always bring good
Yeah.
things to the
Someone,
table.
a friend of mine on Facebook said I have a relaxing voice. I never thought in those terms. So I'm glad that I like it. I'm glad that people get that enjoyment from it. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, what is it? Screaming into the void or something? You're just you're talking, but it's not going anywhere. It's not doing anything for anybody. So,
Right.
and there are podcasts that I feel that are like that, where they just talk.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. People are talking about what's the perfect podcast length, whatever you can stand to do.
Hmm.
If you can stand to talk for an hour to yourself, great. If you can do 15 minutes, as long as each one of your shows is about the same length of time, that, all right, I'm going to do an hour this week, then I'm going to do 7 minutes next week, then I'm going to do 30 minutes the week after. Mine usually fall in at 15 to 20 minute mark. I've been getting better about it. I'm trying to be more consistent and closer to 30, because I think 30, by the time 30 minutes is up, especially in this society of instant gratitude and gratification, we need it right now. I mean, if a podcast, not a podcast, but a YouTube video is taking longer than like a minute to get to whatever they're supposed to be talking about, I'm like, all right, click next. I don't have time for this. Same thing with like recipe sites. It's like, I don't care about your life story. I want to learn how to make potato salad, not that you got this from a traveling salesman at your aunt birth. And I don't care. It's
Right.
great. It's a beautiful story.
Mhm.
Lovely. I'm glad you had that experience. Nobody here cares. It reminds me of the new the Geico commercials, where the guy's talking about adult kid, like people owning their first house, acting like their parents.
Mhm. Oh yeah, yeah,
Commercials, the woman says, the Johnson said, and the guy's like, no one here knows who that is.
yeah.
We don't know that person. Move
Yeah,
on.
that's great. Yeah, that's a new
Uh,
commercial.
yeah, it's so get to the point. I don't mind a little banter, a little fun, whatever, but I want to get in. I want to talk about what I want to talk about, and I want to get out. I don't want to spend a lot of time with BSing stuff. And I'm sorry if people like that, and I'm not doing it. It's not going to happen, most likely.
Mhm.
I figure by 18 episodes, the people that are going to listen are going to listen, and the ones that aren't. So I've got however many listeners it is, I've got my core group of like 7 people that listen to every show, every episode. It's usually the
That's
same
not
amount of numbers. It's like,
bad. Let's
okay,
make it
good.
8.
You came back. I think I need to add that to the next one. Go, good. You came back. Thank you.
There you go.
Good to see you.
Hey, let's start. You know what you need to do? This is good. This is good. I want credit for this. Say, okay, people, I'm sorry it's been a while, your usual, spiel. And then you
Right.
can say, okay, I'm going to do a head count, put a comment below.
Okay. Yeah. All right. He's here. All right. Oh, there they are. They're in the back. Good. Good.
Put a like so I can take a head count. And then I'll see if
Right.
I can, increase the numbers, You'll
It's
get
great.
a
I have to do
shitload of
that.
likes that way.
I have to do that. All right. Podcast roll call. Who's here?
Stacy's podcast roll call now. That's going to work. I know.
That's a good idea. Thank you. That's cool. I
Yeah,
like
that'll
that.
be fun. I'm going to hear it. I'll hear you saying it. And then you know how you said don't do the script? I want to hear like a piece of paper because you don't do a script, crumple it up
Right.
and whip it
Rattle
out.
something.
There you go. Yeah, when you first picked that doll up that you
Let's
made,
see. Okay.
there you go. And crumble it up and whip it
Right.
back. Yeah.
Oh, wait.
That doll you made at first, with the screen, how it could be blurred sometimes.
Uh-huh.
First, when you picked it up, do you know what it looked like?
Hmm.
A voodoo doll. I'm like, what the heck is he making?
What is he making over there?
Yeah,
What
like,
happened to him? He was such a nice boy in high school.
yeah, and
What
then you're
happened to
talking
him?
about jabbing pins and things. I'm like, sure, we know that's a voodoo doll. Oh my
I think
goodness.
it should be a new tagline for no scripts allowed.
There you go. Head count.
The No Script Podcast.
Mhm.
I shouldn't say that because someone listening to us is going to steal that from me now. I've trademarked that. All right.
Yes, it's Craig and Stacy.
Right.
Don't you
It's
do it.
trademarked, sorry.
No,
On
don't.
this day of the Lord 2022.
Yeah, make a note, 4/23/22 at 7:43 p.m.
Mhm.
Okay?
This is our idea. We can prove it.
Yeah.
Don't mess with us. We're from Jersey.
Yeah, you hear
We
us.
know, we know people.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. Yep, there's cement layers.
Just ask that Hoffa guy.
Oh God, yeah. What's going on with that?
Crazy stuff.
Now, what is that? The sun that surfaced or somebody? What was
I
going
think
on?
so. Yeah, I think I read something about it.
Huh. Yeah, I see Fox News and this one and that one. I'm like, oh my. So, well, the
That's
action I'm missing being down here.
I can't afford it. I would like to be in Jersey, but I can't between the real estate and the taxes and everything. It's just like I don't know how they still have people left living there. I
No.
really don't.
No, I don't either. That's why I'm in North
A lot
Carolina.
of people I know moved out, moved to Pennsylvania, moved to a lot of Jerseyans and end up in North Carolina.
Yeah.
There's something about it.
Yeah.
There's no good pizza down there, but you know.
Oh, there's not much going on as far as food, I will say.
Funny story, when we moved to Texas many years ago, I lived in Texas for about 6 years. When we moved there, we were asking people where to get good pizza, and they're all, oh, Pizza Hut's up the street. Like, no, I said good pizza.
Mhm.
And my wife asked somebody in the grocery store where the hard rolls were, and someone said, well, the day old bread's over there. I'm like, no, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Kaiser rolls, not day old. Sorry.
Great. That's great. I will say, like a lot of the places around here, the little restaurants, like the mom and pop places,
Mhm.
the food is phenomenal. Don't get me
Right.
wrong. But you know, when you're used or you're accustomed to a certain thing,
Right, exactly.
that's what it is. It's like the bakeries and the, different things like that.
I found like down here the best Mexican restaurants. Sorry, out here, not down here, are the little hole in the wall places,
Mhm.
not the big fancy looking ones. You want the ones that I don't want to say look sketchy because that's not right, but the ones like, all right, we'll try it. You know, I went to one today. The tacos are from the food is phenomenal. Every time we go, it's always good.
Wow.
And there's a diner down here that the food is always good. Never had a complaint yet, so I lucked out. And avocados, if you haven't tried them, eat them. They're delicious.
They're yummy. They are good. Hey, you went Mexican. Have you ever had the Mexican ice cream?
Yes, once upon a time, I have had the the fried ice cream. So good.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Party in your mouth, major.
Right. The first time someone said you want some fried ice cream, I'm like, what do you can't fry ice cream? What are you talking about? Get out of here with that. Won't it melt in the oil? Nope, apparently not.
That stuff's great. And I always say, make it extra crunchy, because by the time you get it, it's a little squishy. You got to have the crunchiness to
Oh,
it. And
absolutely.
she's always like, do you want 2 spoons? I'm like, no, I'm not sharing.
2 spoons for what? I only have one mouth. I'm good.
Yep. So they're good. I like the ice cream. That's pretty good stuff. So what's the one food that you actually like truly miss from back home? If you had to pick one.
Sausage and pepper sandwiches from the boardwalk.
Okay. I can see
'Cause
that.
I've tried making it at home and I've had it in Italian restaurants. It's just not, maybe it's the dirty grill at the boardwalk. I don't know.
I want to say,
Something new. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I can't get a sausage and pepper sandwich anywhere else but like Seaside. And other boardwalks have them, but and even at Seaside, it depends on which little stand you go to.
right.
The one I went to was like, I want to say right in the middle of the boardwalk between the old section and what is it, Funtown Pier or whatever. Yeah, it's like right in the middle, right before you get to the miniature golf course. There's that one right in the middle of the boardwalk. They had the best ones.
Okay. I miss hot dogs, like Coney Island dogs,
Right.
with the onions and you smell real stinky after you eat it. I like that. And I miss going to Yankee Stadium. I remember my memories of Yankee Stadium, driving there.
Mhm.
You would drive, and when you take the ramp right before you go into the old one now, and
Right.
all the guys would be there jumping on your car and trying to get like dollars from you, cleaning your windshield. You'd always have to
Right.
have like a bunch of singles. One time I didn't have singles, and I'm like, oh my God, the guy's gonna break my window. But my dad would always have a squeegee under the seat. So I gave him a
Mhm.
squeegee, and he was like so happy, thrilled. And then you would go, and then when you park and you get out of the parking building, those pretzels, you would
Mhm.
smell them. And then the little
Yes.
guy would play the piccolo and try to collect money. The little poor guy.
Yeah. There's something about like New York City food, the hot dogs and the pretzels smell and taste better than anywhere else. Yeah.
Yeah.
What they used to call them, dirty water dogs.
Yes. Probably are.
Probably. Well, it's they, I don't think they change the water out all day long. So
That's
no
why we've
telling
been
what,
so healthy. Your immune system's
right?
rocking,
Right.
huh?
Yeah, there's a comedian that you saw about swimming in the oh, George Carlin talked about swimming in the Hudson River with the raw sewage. And he said, we never got sick. We never died, because it built up your immune system. And unlike today, where you got to wash everything and wash your hands 87,000 times. And
I know. I
there were,
know.
when my kids were little, parents are like, oh, don't get dirty. Don't get dirty. I'm like, and our pediatrician said, let them play in the dirt. That's how they build up their immune system.
Yeah.
They're not going to get sick and die or anything. Just let them toughen up their body. So we did. And our kids hardly ever got sick
Yeah. I mean, we were
because we
the
weren't
same.
like hovering over them. Like, like at the beach, you eat a hot dog, you're going to get sand in your hot dog. There's no way around it. No matter how careful you are, if you eat food at the beach, it's going to be sand somewhere.
Yeah. 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 Definitely.
It just happens.
That's okay. It's the whole atmosphere,
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah. The hot dogs from Belmar.
Yeah.
So my grandmother's beach house was in Belmar.
Oh, was
Yes.
it?
Yeah. And even that place is all changed now. The arcade's gone. The
Hmm.
miniature golf is gone. So they took out, they say they're a family friendly town, but they took out all the things to do.
That's too bad.
So I'm not sure how family friendly it is anymore when there's nothing to do there except go to the beach,
Yeah.
because that was a big thing for us. We'd go to the beach during the day, we'd go home, get cleaned up,
Mhm.
and then my grandmother would take us up to the arcade, and we'd spend like an hour at the penny arcade.
Yeah.
And that's just one of those cool memories I have.
That's nice. At least you have a
Kids,
good
kids
memory.
today will never know what an arcade is.
Yeah.
What's pinball? What's this? What's that? I'm like, sorry, kid, you live
Mhm.
in the wrong time.
I
Stuff
know.
happens.
And then we get saltwater taffy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good times. And then in the winter time, we wouldn't go down the shore. We take the train and go into the city.
Went to Rockefeller Center, and we went to Rockefeller Center a few times. My grandmother took us to Radio City Music Hall a handful of times. That was always fun to do.
Yeah. Yep. I'd see the Rockettes at Christmas time. That was fun. David
I
Letterman.
walked through Manhattan in my uniform once because I took the train from Connecticut into the city, and then there's some delay where I was going to have to wait. So I'm like, well, I'm going to walk from here, and I'll walk to not Times Square, but whatever the Port Authority.
Oh.
So I'm, well, just take a bus. I don't want to wait for the train. So I'm walking through Manhattan in my dress whites, and all the people, hey, sailor, how's it going?
That's funny.
Singing
Yeah, you get
along.
different types saying that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there were some ladies of the evening that were saying hello to me too. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm gonna keep walking now. Okay, thanks.
Oh, that was fun. Or what about when you go take the subway in and you go to Little Italy and Chinatown? It's funny how you'll be in Chinatown and then you just cut a right or a left and all of a sudden you're in Little Italy.
My grandma took us to some it was like on a side street, some Chinese restaurant, and the food was phenomenal. But New York is like unlike any place else in the world.
Yep.
And getting back to the TV thing, they'll say that they're in New York, and like, no, you're not. You're like in Montreal or something, or someplace else filming this, because it doesn't feel like New York. You
No.
just kind of know. that, yes, this is real and no, it's not. That's what I loved about The Sopranos. They filmed it all on location, or mostly on location in Jersey.
Yeah.
So you could see Route 3 and Route 46 and
Yeah. And the turnpike by the
Mhm.
Newark
the
Airport.
TikTok diner and all these other things. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So you knew that they were filming it. Yeah, we watched the opening credits, like been there, been there, been there.
Yeah. Everything looked familiar, right?
Yeah, and the ice cream place where they had the final scene, that was like right around the corner from the house I was living in
Oh,
at the time. So that was really cool. It's like, oh, we've been there.
wow. That's neat though. You know?
It's cool. It's very cool to have. I think those life experiences like that are important, and you should like enjoy as many as you can. Don't
Yeah.
be a stick in the mud.
No,
Some
I
really
remember
good.
even going to see the tree in the city at Christmas time. You'd always go, and it
Yep.
was always cold, and you'd walk down one street, and it was okay. As soon as you turned the corner, it was like a
Right.
wind tunnel,
Because
right?
there's no
Depending on how
really
the
there's no
breeze
buildings
was
blocking
blowing.
it, right.
It was cold, but I never got to go ice skating. Never.
I've ice skated, but not there. I've ice
Well, that's,
skated a couple
yeah,
different places.
I have too, but I always wanted to skate there at Christmas time, but I never got to
That would
do
be
that.
cool to skate at Rockville Center. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's like a very New Yorker thing to do.
Hmm. I did Carteret Park instead.
I went ice skating someplace. It might have been Carteret Park. I don't remember. It was like a frozen lake kind of thing or frozen pond or something. Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it was out in the middle of a park, so it might have been Carteret Park. I don't know. It was a
Mhm.
long time ago.
Yeah. So all the memories. So, and it's nice that you keep in touch with a few people from school, as you know, I
There's
do the same.
there's a handful
Yeah.
that we still click and we're still tight. My friend Rick is one of them. He was in my creative writing class, so we've had like this long-term friendship thing going on. So that's cool.
That's really nice.
Speaking of writing, I hear you're writing a book. Maybe.
Mr. Fancy Pants. Yes, I am. So it will probably be out in the next 2 months.
Cool. Very cool.
Thank you.
I started writing a fiction book, so we'll see how it goes. I'm like a little over 3,000 words into it. Oh my God, that's a lot of words. And I read somewhere yesterday, the average novel is like 50,000 words. So I've just got a little more to go. A little bit, I'm close. I can almost see it.
Religion.
Every year my kid would do the NaNoWriMo thing, the November writing thing.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And I've had this idea bouncing around my head for like 30 years about this character that I want to do, because no one's ever done a Western kind of feel about this kind of character. So it'll be
Yeah.
unique.
That's neat though.
So we'll see. I'm enjoying writing it.
Mhm.
I give myself a goal of like 2,000 words a day. So far I've done that.
That's a lot.
It is a lot when you look back and say, oh my God, that's a lot of talking,
It sure
But
is.
I think it's an achievable goal. And if I don't, I'm not going to beat myself up if I only do like 1,000 or 1,500 or I
Mhm.
figure at least 1,000 words.
Mhm.
That'll be good.
Well, you'll have
So
to let us know when you're all done with it, Craig.
I will, because I'm torn between writing and researching. So I'm kind of doing both as I go. Like as I'm writing, I'm like, well, what would happen here? What would this be? So I'm on the other screen, I've got Google up and I'm looking at Google stuff. I'm one of those people, I know if I take too much time and I think about it and I procrastinate over it, it's never going to happen.
No, I get it.
I'm just like, I'll write it, I'll edit it later. I don't care. The
Mhm.
typos can stand, the grammatical errors can stand.
Right.
Someone else can come behind me with a red pen and say, okay, here, fix this and hand it back to me.
There you go.
Hand it back to me tomorrow or Monday or something. You've got 2 days to fix it.
That's right.
And
You're
then we'll
just
go through
getting
another.
everything on there, you know?
Right. I think as long as I can say it's done, I've done it, and then I can worry about all the edits. And I'm sure you've dealt with that a little bit too, all the corrections and
Yeah, it's a lot. Just when
like,
you
what's wrong with this?
perfect.
This is fine. What do you mean fix it? It's fine.
Uh-huh. Hey, what run-on sentence? The one from page 1 to page 130? No, I'm kidding.
Now try it with punctuation. Oh,
Oh, that's right. I remember.
I knew I
that.
forgot something. Right.
Yeah.
So the period goes here. All right. That's
Uh-huh.
interesting.
Yeah. No commas, just,
Right. I like your thought process. This is cool. Maybe throw in a semicolon once in a while, just for variety.
Yeah, maybe
Putting some
not
other
one
content.
paragraph, maybe more than
Right.
one.
Right.
Oh, that's great.
Just chapter 1, the end.
Yeah.
Chapter 1 is 800 pages. How'd this happen? I don't know. I didn't know where to end it.
Okay, you got to tell people this is our idea. This is our idea. This is a good one
Right.
too.
It's just one big chapter. That's the whole book. I didn't know where to separate into us. I didn't know where to stop and start a new chat. I don't. I just wrote it. Editors are for it. They can figure it out.
The end. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, self-publishing is a trip.
Mhm.
I made a couple of notebooks and I put them on Amazon. One sold like 3 or 4. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, you
So
did.
I
What
could
are the
say-
names?
It's just like blank notebooks.
Oh, okay.
So I did those. Those are kind of fun to do. I edited in a program called Canva. I used my own design for one. And I borrowed one for the other one. The first one was a photo I took at Seal Beach here of a seagull in flight. It turned out really well. So I'm like, well, yeah, I'm not going to pay anybody to make artwork. I'll use my own photos.
There you go.
Not, right? It didn't cost me anything.
And it's
So it was
original.
fun to do. And no one can ever take that away from me. I can always say I'm published.
Right.
Maybe not an author, but look, this is my book. It's got my name on it.
But it
Actually, it's
makes you
got,
feel good.
instead of the author, I put Athomewithcraig Publishing Division.
Okay.
That exists, but that sounds important, doesn't it? That I've
Yes,
got a
it
publishing
does.
division, right? It's not a lie. I'm not
No.
stretching the truth. It's not like
Mm-mm.
other people will make things up. I'm like, no, look here, here's my book, or here's my notebook.
There you go. You did
They
it all
can't say,
by
well,
yourself.
I did. That was another thing I learned on YouTube, how to do that. So that was kind of cool.
Neat. Okay. Well, I am going to end this, but we're definitely going to do this again. Okay.
Yes,
We
yes,
have to, because this is
at least once a
fun.
month.
More than that, bite your tongue.
I said at least, fine, at least twice a month, okay? Fluffy britches.
I love it. I love it. And then you can make me a little voodoo doll.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you end this whole thing because this is your world and I'm living in it at the moment.
I appreciate that. I'm going to end this way and all of my podcasts. These are just my opinion, or this is my 2 cents. Your mileage may vary. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. I love you all and God bless.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to send this off and then you do whatever you want to do with this.
Okay,
And thank
cool.
you
I
for the
appreciate it.
time. And we're going to,
Thank you. I appreciate
in
this.
touch.
Thank you.
all right. See you
Take care.
later.